Good morning, everybody. How you doing? Oh, we are in for a fun day today. Check this out. We've got, what do we got? We got a hunt for aliens at 3 p.m. today, so don't forget to join us for that one. Okay, let's start with some breaking news because I always like to do that at the beginning. Now, a lot of in the news lately has been about USA ICE agents and conflicts with citizens and different things. So that's been really making it on the news a lot. But what a lot of people don't realize, I'm actually from Canada. We actually have something very similar in Canada, and I actually have a video of it. I want to show it to you, so let's take a look.
It's a beautiful day, and I'm here on the Halifax Boardwalk to take care of some foreigners. Well, this way, we got the buses here. We got a big day lined up for you. Probably go to Peggy's Cove, maybe a lobster boil. So let's go. Where are you guys visiting from?
Atlanta.
Virginia.
Pennsylvania.
Montana.
30 minutes from D.C.
What's DC stand for?
Washington.
This man thinks DC stands for Washington. Yeah, that's a nice backpack, pal. That is really nice. Super nice. Do you have any narcotics on you? Any kind of drugs?
Let me see. No.
If you need some, you just go down right here. There's a great cannabis store down here. Got some really sweet, strong stuff. That's what I'm on right now. So that's what, yeah.
I know you're on something.
First thing you got to say is, I love the Toronto Blue Jays. Say it. So you are officially an honorary Canadian. Let's get your passport photo. Here we go. No smiling in the photo. You can't smile in a passport photo. We got you a certified nice American card. I mean, if you have any difficulty here on the boardwalk, you simply show them that card and you're all taken care of. All right, let's get your hands where I can see them, sir. Let's go. Here's some candy.
Thank you, sir.
There you go, some candy. Candy always makes the day a little bit nicer. Redeem this coupon for one nice hug from a nice agent. Bring it in, bud. Bring it in.
Thank you.
Welcome to Canada.
Nice, isn't that nice?
Would you live in Canada full time, do you think?
That's my goal.
We got one. Yeah, he just admitted to it. All right, well, let's all go for a beaver tail together. Go.
Okay.
You're gonna love it. Up here in Canada, we know ice.
All right. And more news, I'm actually on an advisory committee for our Prime Minister, and we had a Zoom call this morning at 6 a.m., and our Prime Minister joined us, and we made a lot of decisions on that call. And it's going to make the news at 6 o'clock tonight, but you guys are here early, so I get to announce it to you. So we've made a couple of decisions this morning. One is that, being from Canada, we're going to build a wall. And we're going to make you pay for it. But we made some other decisions. So later in the call, we were joined by President Trump. And but Carney left the Zoom call. He wanted me to break the news to him, so I had to break the news to him. So I told him about the wall, and I had to break the news to him. We've made a major decision. We're going to make the USA the 11th province of Canada. All right. Let's talk a little bit about my heroes. So I'm going to show you some of my heroes that I've learned all my astronomy and astrophysics from. And you see if you can name who that person is. Yell it out. Who's this? Yes, of course. That is the famous Carl Sagan. How about this guy? Yes, Neil deGrasse Tyson. How about this one? Yes, Stephen Hawking. Anybody from the UK? Yes, that's Professor Brian Cox. How about this lady here? A little less known, but females have made amazing contributions to astronomy and astrophysics over the years. This is Jill Tarter, the former director of SETI, the Search for Extraterrestrial Intelligence. In fact, they even made a movie about her. Anyone know the name of the movie? Yell it out. Yes, the movie Contact. Who played her in the movie? Yes, we got Jodie Foster playing Jill Tarter. What a great movie. You got to watch Contact if you haven't seen it yet. How about this guy? Of course, it's Albert Einstein. And I always get the question, Tom, do you know any of these guys? Not only do I know these guys, I was actually very good friends with them. And back in the 70s, I used to hang out with them.
You can
I told you I knew them. All right, let's talk about my other inspirations, because I always get asked the question, Tom, how did you get so involved in astronomy and so excited and inspired by it? And there was probably three main things that got me excited, and I wanted to share them with you. One is just understanding how huge the universe is and how far away things are. So this is an actual picture of our closest neighborhood star called Proxima Centauri, which you might have heard is only 4.2 light years away from us, but guess what? That's 25 trillion miles. If we were to go there on a Boeing 747 at 700 miles an hour, it would take us over 6 million years to get there. That's how close this neighbor is, okay? Like there's just so much space in outer space. I guess that's why they call it space. And how about this? This is another area that really excited me. It's called galactic cannibalism, where you can see galaxies merge together. And this is a computer animation showing what would happen when two galaxies containing 200 billion stars merge together, but it's interspersed with actual telescope images from the Hubble telescope, like this image here, showing two galaxies that are in the midst of colliding together. Once again, you see the animation, and then once again, another Hubble image showing two galaxies that are in that formation of colliding together. And it's interesting because when 200 billion stars collide together in galactic cannibalism, guess how many stars crash into each other? 0, because literally the stars fly right past each other because there's just so much empty space in between them, as I just mentioned. And then my other inspiration, of course, was going to the David Dunlop Observatory, a large telescope in Toronto area. And at one point, this was the second largest telescope in the entire world. And I got to go and look through the telescope one night, and the operator was there, said, Tom, what do you want to see? Of course, I had to say, which planet do you want to see? Oh, I had to say Saturn. I got to see Saturn's rings, right? So he pointed his telescope at Saturn, but unfortunately on this particular night, we could not see Saturn. The view was blocked. And guess what was blocking it? Yell it out. What might have been blocking it? The moon? No, it wasn't the moon. No, it wasn't clouds. Actually, as it turns out, it was totally blocked that night by the USS Enterprise from Star Trek. I couldn't believe it. So I said to the operator, I said, wow, do you have any X-ray vision on this thing? I want to look right through the hull. I want to see what's going on the bridge. And so we zoomed right in, and what did we see? Of course, we saw the cast of Star Trek. I knew there was hanky-panky going on in there, right? But seriously, this was actually one of my other inspirations, because when I was a kid, I used to rush home from school to watch Star Trek because I was so excited trying to figure out what antics Captain Kirk and Spock would be getting into, the different kinds of aliens they would meet, etc. In fact, if you talk to a lot of people that work at NASA, they'll also tell you that this was one of their inspirations of getting involved in astronomy and astrophysics and things like this. So let's use this to get kids excited. Let's use science fiction to get kids excited about all this stuff and then get them into the world of science. On a recent cruise, this is Dominic Keating's Star Trek Enterprise, and right on the Zantam, the Eclipse cruise last April, he got to hang out with us. So we were hanging out on the ship, and it was an amazing total eclipse cruise on Zandam. And in case you don't know, there's another total eclipse cruise coming up next August in Iceland. And so make sure you get on that one. I'm already booked for that one to do the total solar eclipse cruise, August of 2026. The cruises are leaving last week of July in 2026. But today's topic is the stunning view from planet Earth, and I just realized this morning as I was looking over my notes that out of the 8 topics I'm doing, this one's my absolute favorite. No, really, it's my favorite because this one has the best pictures of any of the talks I'm doing, and you are going to love it. We're going to talk about eclipses, deadly meteorites. We're going to talk about brilliant auroras, but we're going to start off with some atmospheric phenomenon in our atmosphere, and then I'm going to work my way further and further out So here we have just some simple images like some rainbows in Jasper and Niagara Falls, beautiful colored rainbows. But a lot of people don't realize there's many different kinds of rainbows, like these double rainbows. You can see a whole extra rainbow there, so keep an eye out for this next time you see a rainbow. And there's something called a supernumerary rainbow, where you got, it's almost like different fainter copies of the rainbow right beside the main copy of it. And that happens because light is getting deflected by ice particles up in the atmosphere. How about this beautiful thing called a fire rainbow? It looks like this cloud is on fire with all of the different colors of the rainbow. Or how about this thing called a solar halo, a rainbow circumnavigating around the sun. Or this one called a lunar halo around the moon, looking like it's totally surrounding it. Then we got these cool things called lenticular iridescent clouds. Look at the beautiful colors in these. No wonder people spot UFOs. Maybe it's a lenticular cloud, you know. Or this beautiful image of a lenticular cloud above Sweden, just with a beautiful reflection in the water there. And then we have lightning storms, of course, and I come from Toronto, Canada. Here's a video of lightning striking the top of the CN Tower. It literally gets struck hundreds of times per year. Luckily, it's grounded. But a lot of people don't realize where lightning strikes, the temperature could literally be hotter than the surface of the sun. Just amazing. And then we got these weird things called blue jets and red sprites. These are actually like lightning bolts, but they're shooting up into space instead of down towards Earth. So they were first discovered by astronauts on the International Space Station. They're seeing these weird flashes of light pointing in the wrong direction. I can see one astronaut nudging the other one. Did you see that? Should we tell anyone about this? You know. And then we've got something called sundogs. It almost looks like there's 3 different copies of the sun here at sunset. The green streak. This is something that happens during sunset at the very top of the sun. And this just lasts a second or two, and it's a flash of light that's green in color. Has anyone ever seen this green streak? Oh, wow, about 50, 60% of you. I've never seen one. But on the last cruise we were on, some people spotted them. So keep an eye out during sunsets. Keep an eye out on the sun. See if you can spot one of these green streaks. Then we got something called sun pillars. Look at this pillar of light going right above the sun. How about this light pillar over Mount Etna, Sicily, Italy? Just a gorgeous shot there. Oh, light pillars. This was taken in New Brunswick, Canada. These aren't pot lights pointed straight up. These are just light sources. And the light is getting reflected off of ice crystals in the atmosphere, and you get this effect. It looks like there's a whole bunch of floodlights pointing upward. It's not. You will typically only get these kind of things at very far north latitudes, so you would tend not to see them in the USA, but you'll see them in northern parts of Canada. Okay, beautiful image here. Who can tell me what that is on the right? Yell it out. Yes, of course, that is the Milky Way galaxy, but now tell me what this is. Yell it out nice and loud. The Northern Lights. No, this is Steve. Yeah, Steve's a different phenomenon than the Northern Lights. In fact, scientists don't even really truly understand what it is. But the story behind it is that some amateur astronomers in Alberta discovered it. And every time they saw it, they would phone their friends and say, hey, quick, Steve's here, you got to see it. So they gave it the nickname Steve, and the name kind of stuck. But now NASA caught wind of this whole new phenomena that scientists had to analyze. So NASA, of course, had to give it an official name. So they did that, and NASA now calls it strong thermal emission velocity enhancement. So now we can still call it Steve. So anytime you see one of these things, just yell out Steve. And here's a beautiful picture of it above Alberta, Canada. And it also has the nickname picket fences because it has almost like this picket fence effect that you can see here. By the way, folks that are on the far right and left side of the screen, if the screen's getting blocked, just move in closer to the center if you want to get a better look. Probably one of the most beautiful pictures I've seen of Steve above Berg Lake, British Columbia. And you see the picket fence effect there. But I love this picture, just the beautiful scenery and everything. But not only did you get Steve in this picture, you also got an image of the Northern Lights above it. So just a beautiful image. Okay, now what is this one? Yell it out. Northern Lights. No, this is the Southern Lights. Come on, guys. Yes, we got Northern Lights coming down from the North Pole, Southern Lights coming up from the South Pole. But what is this one now above Norway? Yell it out. Northern Lights. Yes, we got that one right. These are the Northern Lights, Aurora Borealis. And how about a beautiful shot of the Northern Lights over Iceland? Look at the brightness of the green there. By the way, if you're ever seeing the Northern Lights, they might look kind of faint, not this bright, but if you take about a 3-second exposure on your camera, a lot of the colors will pop up a lot more, like you see in images like this. A beautiful image of the Northern Lights over Saskatchewan, Canada, with the beautiful reflection in the water. And above Greenland. And a lot of times Northern Lights are green, but a lot of times you'll get other colors mixed in, like yellows and purples and different things like that. How about this auroral hummingbird over Norway? So these Northern Lights can take all different kinds of weird shapes. And then this is a picture I took with a friend where I used to work over Killarney Park, a dark sky preserve. We had 2 large telescopes there telling people all about the night skies. But look at the colors in this one, lime green and rose and purple and pink, all kinds of different colors. And in this image, we even got a couple of shooting stars thrown in for good measure. So this is a time-lapse video of the Northern Lights, just some great shots there. But let's talk about what causes the Northern and Southern Lights to form as I'm showing this video. So here's planet Earth, and you've got these charged particles from the sun that are racing towards us and hitting Earth. Now, Earth luckily is protected by a magnetic field, but if it wasn't, these charged particles could wipe out all life on planet Earth. But luckily, when those charged particles come and hit Earth, they follow the magnetic field lines up to the North Pole and down to the South Pole, and then when they hit the North Pole, those lights then start moving down to lower atmosphere. So that's why you mostly see Northern Lights the farther north you go. Although this year, you probably heard a lot of news stories. Almost every week, we're getting Northern Lights into various USA states. And that is because the sun is on a 13-year solar cycle. And this year is solar maximum. That's the maximum amount of solar activity. So that's why this year we're getting the most amount of Northern and Southern Lights. But over the course of the next 6 years, the amount of Northern Lights will slowly go down and down and down until we hit solar minimum 6 years from now. Isn't that gorgeous? Okay, so what's causing these things? Of course, we have to look at the sun. In this particular image, we're seeing something called an X9 flare. So these huge flares that shoot off the sun, and it's this material that's getting shot off that ends up coming to Earth, creating those aurora. But a lot of people don't realize 30, 35 years ago, we got hit by an X15 solar flare, and that actually triggered a power outage. Remember about that long ago, all of the New York area and Quebec, the power was out for 3 or 4 days. I was stuck in Ottawa. We couldn't even get gas for our cars because all the power was out for a few days. That was as a direct result of one of these hits. We got another one of these hits about 140 years ago called the Carrington event, where Earth got a direct hit from a coronal mass ejection that caused power outages, and that we had teletype machines at that time that people were getting zapped and stuff like that. But imagine if we got hit with one of these now. Wow, it could wipe out satellites that are running our internet or GPS systems. It could crash into Earth and wipe out the entire energy grid of a continent. causing trillions of dollars of damage and maybe taking months or years to rebuild the electrical infrastructure if we were ever to get hit with one of these. Now, luckily, we're 93 million miles away from the sun, and those ejections are shooting off in all directions, so we're a pretty small target, but we have to keep an eye out for them. Looking out beyond Earth's atmosphere now, we see comets like this one here, a beautiful image of a comet with a tail. And this is similar to what you might have seen back in 1986 when Halley's Comet came around. People were really freaking out seeing the beautiful images of Halley's Comet as it flew by Earth. Once an asteroid or a comet comes into Earth's atmosphere, we then change the name of it and we call it a meteor, which is basically just a shooting star. So this is an asteroid or a comet that is coming through our atmosphere 30 to 40 times faster than a speeding bullet, heating up to thousands of degrees, and that's why you see these beautiful streaks as that thing is burning up in the atmosphere. A lot of people don't realize that these shooting stars are like tiny little particles. They could be like a grain of sand or something and cause something like this as it's burning up in the atmosphere. Okay, now I'm going to take you to the Star Wars set called Mas Esposa in Tunisia, North Africa, where a friend of mine in Africa, Makrem Larnayout, took this amazing image. He's been providing me with some of these images. A big shout out to him. And this shows a meteor shower. And you'll notice that all of the meteors seem to be coming from a particular spot, and that spot is called the radiant. Because what a lot of people don't realize is Earth is flying through the universe, isn't it? And we're flying in that direction. And that's why it appears that all of those comets are coming at us from a particular spot. So where are these comets coming from? Where are these meteors coming from is comets that have been in our solar system years or decades ago, left a whole bunch of debris, and when we fly through that comet's debris is when we get these meteor showers that tend to happen in months throughout the entire year. This is the most active one called the Perseid meteor shower. Okay, when we take a long exposure image like this one here above Saskatchewan, you get this effect where it almost looks like the stars are in motion in a particular direction. And here's an animation of it here, but you'll notice that one of the stars isn't moving at all. Who can tell me what that star is? Yes, of course, that's Polaris, the North Star. And what's the big deal about the North Star is because ancient mariners, of course, would use that to know what direction they're traveling in, is that they would identify the North Star and then they'd know exactly what direction they're going in to be able to sail right across the entire Pacific Ocean and hit an island that's this big on the far side. And various cultures did an amazing job of that in the past, of course. One of my favorite images, also from Makrem in Africa, star trails above the mausoleum of Atban in Tunisia, North Africa. And this particular image, what I love about this, so this is a several-hour exposure. You can see the path of all the stars, but what I love about this picture is look at the different colors of the stars. We've got the hotter, bluer stars. We've got yellow stars that are like our sun. We've got other redder stars that are cooler and maybe dying on their last legs. So we can see different stages of life of stars based on what their color is. Moving on to eclipses, let's talk about total solar eclipses. Of course, that happens when the disk of the moon totally covers the sun, which is behind it here, and we get a total eclipse. The beautiful thing about a total eclipse is when you see the sun's corona shooting off the surface of the sun. A lot of people don't realize during the 2 or 3 minutes of the total solar eclipse, you don't even need eclipse glasses. You can just look up to it and see the beauty of the sun's corona streaming off the surface of the sun. Not only that, but very close to the surface, you can also spot something called solar prominences, which is material getting shot off the surface of the sun. So just going to give you a bit of a debrief on our total solar eclipse we did back in April on Zandam in the Pacific Ocean. And this is a beautiful shot that you can see in this composite image where the moon slowly covers over the face of the sun, then you get the total eclipse, and then the face of the moon comes off the sun. And marketers had a heyday with this total solar eclipse. Like the Donut Dude shop, they even had total eclipse donuts. Okay, they had the total eclipse, the partial eclipse, whatever you want. They even threw in a couple of eclipse glasses for you. And even beer companies were coming up with eclipse beer. In fact, in Rochester, a couple of different breweries got together and created a trio of beers, the lighter side, the darker side, and totality, in case you want really dark beer. Okay, then we've got this image of a partial eclipse. The moon is covering the sun, but we got this huge sunspots that you see here. And if we zoom in on them, they don't really look like much, but those are explosions off the surface of the sun that are bigger than the entire planet Earth. And so they kind of look docile here, but they are literally ferocious material shooting off the surface of the sun. There's also something called a pinhole effect that you get with partial eclipses. When light from the eclipse comes through any kind of a pinhole, like in between the leaves of this tree, it creates a copy of the partial eclipse on the ground that you can see. And so people are using colanders and different things like that to see the partial eclipse. But my hero on this cruise was Ayaz Asif from New Hampshire. We had about 70 professional photographers on this particular cruise. But he was my hero because he created some amazing images like this composite image pulling together several images of what it would look like for the moon to cover the face of the sun, and then the total eclipse, and then the moon coming back off the sun. Or this image here of Bailey's beads. So this almost looks like a string of pearls that happens just as the moon is about to cover the sun or right after it's coming off the sun. You get this string of pearls effect. And what causes this is because the moon's surface is not a perfect sphere. It's got mountains and craters and things like that. So anytime light is peeking through one of those craters is where you get this little pop of light coming out called Bailey's beads. And then the most dramatic part of an eclipse is the diamond ring. Just a brilliant flash of light and that you see right as the moon comes off of the surface of the sun. Okay, can you outsmart a ninth grader? Just one question, are you ready? Okay, true or false, it rains on the sun. Raise your hand for true. We got 10 hands. Raise your hand for false. 80% of you are wrong. This is true. Yeah. Okay, it's not the kind of rain that we got here, so I'm cheating a little bit, but it's million-degree coronal rain, which is plasma shooting off the surface of this sun. NASA's Solar Dynamics Observatory got this amazing animation. Look at the size of this coronal rain compared to the size of planet Earth. These things are huge. And then this beautiful image that Ayaz got of solar prominences shooting off of the surface of the sun, probably the best solar prominence image I've ever seen. A lot of people don't realize, once again, it looks kind of docile, but each of these solar flares literally is like the power of 10 million volcanoes on Earth all erupting at the same time, okay? And so that's how powerful these things are. Why do we sometimes get a total eclipse versus a ring of fire eclipse? It's because of something called elliptical orbits. So here we have the Earth, and the moon is rotating around us, but not in a perfect circle. It's like in an egg-shaped elliptical orbit. So sometimes it's closer to us, sometimes it's farther, then it gets closer, then it's farther and closer. And once again, we learned about apparent sizes yesterday. The closer something is, the bigger it'll appear, but the farther away it is, the smaller it appears. So guess what? From the closest to the farthest point, from perigee to apogee, this is the difference in size the moon will be. based on whether it's at its closest point or its farthest point. And a lot of times when it's a full moon at its closest point, it's literally 25% brighter than the farthest point. And what does the weather person call this when it's happening? What do they call it? Yes, of course, they call that a supermoon as compared to the micromoon when it's at the furthest distance. But that's one of the reasons why sometimes the moon will look bigger than what you normally think it might look like. So what's a ring of fire eclipse? So when the moon is at its farthest point, guess what? It is not big enough to cover the surface of the sun. And as a result, you get this ring effect where the surface of the sun is still visible all around the outside. During a ring of fire eclipse, you always have to wear your eclipse glasses because your eyes will get burned out because the sun is still shooting direct light directly at you. And here's a beautiful image of one of the ring of fire eclipses in Utah. And let's take a look at a video around the world. Just an amazing experience. I encourage you to try and catch one. Okay, in fact, the eclipse last April inspired me so much, I actually wrote a poem about it. Can I read you one of my poems? All right, here we go. This poem's called Cosmic Harmony, a Solar Eclipse Odyssey. Above our ship's deck, a spectacle so rare, a thrilling solar dance suspended in air. Excitement high, our stirred spirits did soar, in shared wonder, deep emotions did roar. Venus and Jupiter, a most lustrous sight, Mars and Saturn, gleaming jewels of the night. As twilight's cloak swiftly spread wide and deep, the calm world stood still in a timeless sleep. And in that brief darkness, neath the pale morning moon, our hearts in unison beat a cosmic tune. One moment of magic so vivid, so clear, afloat in still seas, cradling the cosmos near. The horizon ablaze, kissed by twilight's glow, with colors so vivid their brilliance did show. In that dusky radiance we all became one, merged with the universe beneath waning sun. Bailey's beads' fleeting whispers shimmered in dark, igniting sparks of wonder, a ghostly mark. The diamond ring blazed, a breathtaking rapture beyond what any painter's brush could capture. In an instant the universe whispered so clear, the hush of the eclipse revealed something dear. More than a mere marvel, 'twas a profound embrace. Together we touched the cosmos in time and space. Thank you. Okay, next we have some things going on called lunar occultations. This is when the moon plays hide and seek with some of the planets and stars that are behind it, so the moon is blocking the view of the planet. So this is an animation, this is a time-lapse video I wanted to show you of the moon playing hide and seek with one of the planets, but I need you to yell out the name of the planet as soon as you recognize it. Here we go. Louder. Yes, of course, there's Saturn with its rings. And a lot of people don't realize the moon can sometimes play hide and seek with 2 to 3 planets all at the same time, although it's pretty rare to have 3. But you get this effect here where the planet's totally hidden and then it comes out from behind the moon. Oh, and I had to show you a couple more of Macrem's photos. This photographer just blows me away. The Milky Way above Euthena Temple in Africa. And this image here above Tunisia. North Africa. Look at the colors pop on these long exposure images. And in case you're wondering, our black hole is located right there, in case you're looking for it. And in this image, we also got a bonus shooting star thrown in. Oh, he also got this image of the Andromeda Galaxy in the sky, our closest neighbor. Andromeda Galaxy, 500 billion to 1 trillion stars. And guess what? It's heading in our direction on a collision course with the Milky Way galaxy, heading towards us at about 70 miles per second. And in about 5 or 6 billion years, the Andromeda Galaxy is going to collide with the Milky Way galaxy. But hopefully we'll be okay. Oh, one of my favorite images here. Look, lots going on in this image that I wanted to point out for you. So here we have the Milky Way galaxy, which you can see, which is the stars curving around the outside there. And then what we've got is the Pleiades. What's the nickname for the Pleiades? Yes, the Seven Sisters. And then we've got the Big Dipper on the bottom there alongside the Little Dipper. And did anyone spot Andromeda? Yeah, there it is right there. And the most beautiful part of this image, the rainbow aurora as the northern lights are viewed right at the horizon. Just a gorgeous image. And then we get these crazy things called nebulas, which are basically one of two things. Either a star that ran out of fuel, collapsed in on itself, and then exploded out, as in the case of this one, creating the Crab Nebula, or any star that's less than 8 times the mass of our sun will not go supernova explosion, so our sun will never blow up in a supernova explosion. But when it runs out of fuel 5 billion years from now, it's just going to slowly release its outer layers and swallow up all the inner rocky planets in our solar system. So if you have anything on your to-do list, get it done before 5 billion years. Okay, it is time to go into the center of a black hole, into a wormhole to do what? The Vassos mind meld. You guys are going to love this one. This one's one of my favorite. I'm going to predict I'm going to get over 95% of you in this one. And here we go. So this one, in couples with whoever you're with, if you are with other people, go ahead and pick any number from 1 to 10. Or if you're with a family, your whole family can pick one number. Now, I'm going to give you a little bit of math to do, and that's why I got you in pairs, to make sure you do the math right. So one of you do the math, and one of you check his or her work, okay? Okay, everyone got a number? Okay, memorize that number, because we're going to come back to it in a second. Whatever number you have, I need you to double it. Okay, you got it? Everyone's in sync? Okay, add 2. Okay, divide it in half. Okay, now I want you to minus the number you started with. Okay, what number do you have? Don't tell me yet. I need you to add 3. Okay, now you got a number. Whatever number you have now, I need you to figure out what letter of the alphabet that is. So if you got a number 7, that's a G, etc. So everyone have a letter of the alphabet now? Ready? Okay. So before I go on with this, you've got a letter of the alphabet, but what I need you to quickly do, and once again, just whisper to each other so no one else can hear it. Whatever letter of the alphabet you have, I need you to think of any country in the world that starts with that letter. Okay, so tell the person beside you. Anyone not have a country? You need help? Okay, we're good. Okay, now everyone has a country. What I need you to do now is add 1. So whatever number you have, just add 1. So now you're picking the next letter in the alphabet. And whatever letter you now have, I need you to pick any land animal on planet Earth. Not a fish or a bird or anything like that. Just any land animal that starts with that letter. Everyone got an animal? Okay, so now everyone has an animal and a country. And now the most important part of this trick here is I need you to shut your eyes for a second And I need you to picture that animal. Make it very realistic. Look at its feathers or its skin or whatever it is. And I need you to make it look as realistic as possible. So if it's realistic as possible, decide what color it is. Okay, open your eyes now. Okay, so now you have a color, animal, and country. I need you to repeat that color, animal, country in your mind as we do the Vassos mind meld. Are you ready? Now, I did the math on this. When you multiply the different combinations of the number of colors, animals, and countries, there's actually 1 million different combinations that are possible. But here's the weird thing, is that I know that some of you are actually thinking of gray elephants in Denmark. Raise your hand. Anyone have gray elephants in Denmark? Oh, I told you I would hit 95% on that one. And look, he's even jumping up and down. And that, my friends, is the Vassos mind meld. You guys are almost trained. You guys are doing really good. Okay, last bonus topic for today. We're going to talk about doomsday meteorites because we got to ask ourselves, should we worry about one of these big things hitting us? And the answer is absolutely yes, because if one of these big things crash into Earth, and they have in the past, you get this huge impact blast ejecta. You could have possible ocean tsunamis all around the world, wiping out all coastal cities that are on the shoreline. And a lot of people don't realize this. We actually get hit by about 17 of these every day. We gain tons of material from outer space every day. Now, most of these meteors coming through our atmosphere burn up before they reach Earth's surface, but a bunch of them do hit. Most of the ones that do hit are pretty tiny little rocks, so we don't have to worry about them too much. But boy, if one came into our atmosphere that was huge, like a few miles across, we could be in big trouble. In fact, so much trouble that NASA has even built something called the Planetary Defense Coordination Office to keep an eye out for these things, because we don't want all life on planet Earth to end, do we, right? So they've got a good handle, and they've actually mapped out over 90% of all of the near-Earth objects that we have to look for. But, you know, sometimes one might be coming at us from the direction of the sun, and we didn't quite see it or whatever, so we have to be very vigilant about looking out for these things. So, for example, just over a decade ago in Chelyabinsk, Russia, there was a meteor burning up in the atmosphere, and it actually exploded right in the atmosphere, something called a superbolide. But the pressure wave from this explosion was so powerful that for miles and miles around, windows got busted out and smashed as a direct result of the sound wave coming at us from this superbolide. In fact, I've got some videos of how powerful the blast was. Let's take a look at it. Look, people rushed to the window once they saw the light, but 2 minutes later, the sound wave hit and blasted the window. And in fact, that's why most people got sent to the hospital, was because of broken glass. 1,000 people got sent to the hospital. All I can say is run. Pretty powerful, isn't it? All right. Here we go, just minding our business in the office one day. Right? Luckily, no one was killed. But now I want to tell you about a real story about Michelle Knapp, a girl in Peekskill, New York, who bought her very first car, a Chevy Malibu, for $400. How excited were you when you got your very first car, right? She was so excited, parked it in her driveway. She was watching TV one night, and all of a sudden, kaboom! Something smashed into her car. She rushes out to a driveway, and a meteorite had smashed into her car, totaling her car. How upsetting is that? Your very first car. Did that happen to anyone else? No? Okay. No, it's pretty rare, but what bad luck, right? I mean, getting hit by a meteorite and losing your entire $400 investment. But the good news is that luckily she sold the meteorite for $69,000. But even better than that, she actually sold the car for $10,000. So Michelle did okay. How about a hand for Michelle? And then there was this meteorite, Willamette meteorite, largest one that landed in the US, 15 tons. Look at the size of this thing. When this thing would have landed, it would have blown millions of tons of material out into the sky. This thing had the power of thousands of tons of TNT. Just an incredibly powerful blast when it smashed into the surface. But that's not the most amazing thing about this picture. To me, the most amazing thing is that it landed with these kids on it. I couldn't believe it. And this thing is now in the American Museum of Natural History. You can go down there and see it. It's in the basement there, so make sure you get there and take some pictures with it. But then there's this fellow here, the Hoba meteorite. This one is 60 tons and landed about 80,000 years ago. Look at the size of this thing. You wouldn't want this thing landing on your house or your car or anything like that. Because one did hit us, which was only 6 miles across. It created a crater 93 miles across. This, of course, was the Chicxulub crater that would have had a huge blast impact in the Yucatan Peninsula near the Gulf of Mexico. So how can we possibly make statements like that this meteorite landed, where it landed, that it happened 66 million years ago? Like, how do scientists know? We weren't around 66 million years ago to know this. And this is how they know, because when you analyze the sedimentary rock, especially in North, Central, and South America, but also around the world, you have this strange layer called the KPG boundary, which is loaded with a mineral called iridium. Now, iridium is not common on Earth at all, but guess what? It's very common in asteroids and comets out there. So that starts the prediction. Okay, well, maybe one of these things hit, blasted out tons of material, including iridium, that actually enveloped the entire planet Earth in clouds for several years or decades, and then that iridium settled down into this layer on the surface of Earth. But how do we now know that it killed off all the dinosaurs? Well, very simply, if you go looking for dinosaur bones, guess what? You find a whole bunch of them in this layer here. You find a lot of dinosaur bones there, but you don't find any of them in any of these layers that got formed in later years following that. And so it's a pretty good indicator that all non-avian dinosaurs got wiped out 66 million years ago, and even about 80% of all life on planet Earth as a direct result of this meteorite, which was only 6 miles across. So imagine if we got something even bigger than that. And how do we know it's 66 million years ago? Because we have science, we have carbon dating, we have radiometric dating that can tell you exactly how old that layer is. So that's how we know when it happened. I got to tell you about this meteorite here called Apophis. Apophis is a Greek word, stands, I think, for death, dying, and chaos or something like that. This is a near-Earth object that for a while we were really worried about because it's coming very close to planet Earth. So let me tell you a little bit about Apophis. It's only 4 football fields across, but guess what? It weighs 30 million tons, and it would impact with the force of the power of 65,000 times the Hiroshima bomb. That's how powerful this impact would be, because it's coming into our atmosphere 30 or 40 times faster than a speeding bullet. It's got that much kinetic energy. Guess what? The next pass close to Earth is going to be on April the 13th, 2029. Yes, Friday the 13th. We can't make this stuff up. This is true. Friday the 13th. And how close is it going to come on that date? It's actually going to come within 20,000 miles of Earth's surface, closer than some of the geosynchronous satellites that are orbiting Earth. Here's Earth. It's going to fly right past us like that. And yet NASA knows its orbit so well, and it comes around every 7 years, that it's almost certainly not going to hit Earth for the next 100 years or so. So that's how well they know this. You're probably wondering, when's the next pass after this one? Yes, April the 13th, 2036. Yeah, we can't make this stuff up. There you go. So NASA keeps a close eye on these near-Earth objects. In fact, this is a video here of Meteor Crater in Arizona. Look at the size of this crater made by a meteorite. Raise your hand, anyone been to Meteor Crater? Oh, at least 50, 60% of you on that one as well. Wow, 3/4 of a mile across, several stories deep. Just amazing. When this blast happened, it would have ejected tons of material out. And the meteorites that we find here have been named Canyon Diablo meteorites. And they actually, Canyon Diablo meteorites that actually look like this. But before I show you the Canyon Diablo, this is actually a picture of the meteor crater. So when this thing landed, it would have landed with the force of 20 million tons of TNT. Okay, we used to think it was a dormant volcano until scientists figured out, no, this is an actual meteorite crash that happened here. It would have blasted tons of material out into the sky, covering the atmosphere. But that's not the most important thing that blows me away by this picture. Oh, and by the way, this meteor crater landed 50,000 years ago, and that's why we thought it was a dormant volcano, but then discovered that it was an actual meteorite fall. But the tons of material and the power of the blast, that's not what blows me away the most. What blows me away the most about this picture is that this meteorite just missed the visitor center. I couldn't believe it. And that's the Canyon Diablo meteorite sample. This one's a 16-pounder. And then we have a second meteorite I wanted to tell you about. This one fell in Russia in 1947. We didn't have smartphones back then, so an artist had to paint the picture. This is the streak of the meteor coming through the atmosphere, smashing into Russia. And this thing literally broke up into hundreds of pieces as it was going through the atmosphere, and several of those pieces literally impaled themselves into trees and in the ground and all that kind of stuff. But it was in a very remote area, so there's no reports of anyone getting killed by this, but this one happened back in 1947. And this is a picture of a 9-pound piece of the Sikhote-Alin iron meteorite. The last one I wanted to show you is the Saracho-Pallasite meteorite. This one is one that landed in Kenya, Africa. Now, this particular piece would have been like a huge boulder like this, but what geologists have done is they've sliced it into thin slices. So this is just one thin slice of that meteorite. So let me tell you a little bit about these meteorites, because many of them are like 98 or 99% iron and nickel. So literally, magnets will literally stick right to them. So that's very different than most of the rocks we have on Earth, right? So really high content of iron and nickel. And the amazing thing about these meteorites is that they're all about 4.5 billion years old. And we know that because we do radiometric dating. So that's how we know that our solar system was formed 4.5 billion years ago. And these things have just been flying around merrily around the solar system until a few years ago when they crashed into Earth. So these things are like time capsules from planet Earth and the formation of our solar system, the formation of Earth, the formation of the planets, and our sun in the solar system. So just an amazing time capsule. Now, if you ever go to a local museum in your city, a lot of times they'll have a meteorite exhibit, or if you're in Toronto, where I'm from, our Royal Ontario Museum has a meteorite exhibit. We've got hundreds of meteorites. Unfortunately, they're behind a glass case, so you can't touch them or anything like that. But if you ever get a chance, go into one of these museums and take a look at some of these meteorites, because it's just an amazing sight to see. Now, I showed you these three particular meteorites for a reason, because I like these pieces so much that I bought them all. Yeah. In fact, I bought them all along with about 50 others, and I created something called the Meteorite Petting Zoo. Now, I wish I had the meteorites here. They're too big, of course, to bring on an airplane, but if you're ever in Toronto, come see me, and I'm going to let you take a picture with one of these things. Actually, wait, just let me think. Wait, I might have brought Wait, I did bring my meteorite petting zoo. Here it is. Look at this. How about a hand for the meteorite petting zoo? Okay, so here are two of the pieces. This is the one that fell in Russia in 1947. This is the slice of the one that fell in Kenya, Africa. You can see the magnets that are sticking right to them there. But look how thin that piece is there that the geologist sliced, really thin, and you can literally see right through it if you look up to the light. But just amazing, 98, 99% iron and nickel. The other amazing thing about these meteorites, these are actually shooting stars. These are the things that you see as a shooting star flying through the atmosphere, burning up, and then landing on Earth. Once upon a time, these were shooting stars. And you get to hold them in your hand because after today's event, I'm going to bring them up to the front here, and you're welcome to come down and take some pictures with them so you can tell your friends back home that you held something that's 4.5 billion years old, that you held an actual shooting star in your hand. How about that? Now, I'll mention a couple of other things, is that the first day I bring these out, I always get about a half-hour lineup to get the pictures. You don't have to wait in line. I'm going to bring them back to each of my events. So before the event or after the event, just come up and you can get pictures with us. So you don't have to wait in line for the whole half hour today. But I will need some volunteers later to help me do some photos and stuff like that. So if I get any volunteers, let me know. And we'll take some pictures with our time capsules from the beginning of our solar system. We will have that photo up for you. Just a warning, any pictures that get taken with my camera might end up on the big screen, okay? So don't get in my camera shot if you're uncomfortable with your picture ending up on the big screen. Okay, that is it for the stunning view from planet Earth. How about that? I just wanted to wrap up with a few final comments on a couple of different really important topics that I think you'll agree with me on this. And that is that we're in the midst of a major crisis in society, and that's online misinformation and disinformation. Like 10, 20% of everything on the internet we know is fake news, right? But the problem is differentiating between what's real and what's not real. And so there's been some recent research that are asking people what percentage of Americans think that the Apollo 11 moon landing was a hoax, and it's 18% of 18 to 34-year-olds. And I can assure you we did land on the moon. But this one's even scarier here. What percentage of Americans believe that Earth may be flat? 9% of 18 to 24-year-olds. And in fact, if you ask those 18 to 24-year-olds what percentage of Americans are not convinced the Earth is round, it's 34% of 18 to 24-year-olds. So you can see why I call this a crisis, because people are reading information on the internet and they're watching hours of YouTube videos, scientific proof that the Earth is flat, and then they believe it. They're having trouble differentiating between what's real and what's not real. So one of my goals in life is to get a few thousand copies of science books in the hands of kids, especially kids between the age of about 3 years old and 13 years old, because that's when we can really get them with learning about science. So hopefully we can change some kids' lives by getting this kind of content in front of them instead of stuff that they're maybe going to see on YouTube. With one book, one teacher, and one curious, inquisitive mind, a child can change the world. Don't forget to join us. For today's event, we're doing the Quest for Alien Life at 3 o'clock, but we're going to get kicked out of the room right at a little before 4. So I'm probably going to start today's event at about 10 minutes to 3 or so. So come a little bit early and we will get into the topic of the quest for alien life, which I know you are going to love. Guess what? We've got a stargazing opportunity on this cruise that we are announcing. It's not just going to be in the theater. And here is the announcement that at 8:30 tonight, if you want to do some stargazing with me, up on deck 8, at the back of the ship. Just go to the Lido Market restaurant, take the exit doors out the back where the smoking area is back there. And at 8:30, we are going to do some stargazing and point out some things in the night sky for you tonight. So if any of you can make that, please join us for that stargazing. Don't forget what I also told you. Out of our 8 events we're doing on this ship, what do you become if you come to 6 out of 8 events? Yes, you become a Cosmo Geek, an official Cosmo Geek. The captain has authorized me to do this. You're going to be able to add it to your resume, whatever you want. So please come to more of our events. And let's end with just a couple of inspirational Stardust for the Soul quotes. Your life is an open canvas, paint with vibrant colors, not timid whispers. And yesterday is gone, tomorrow has not come. We have only today. Let us begin, Mother Teresa. The treasure you seek lies buried just beneath the effort you refuse to dig. Or how about this last one? Life is not measured by the number of breaths we take, but by the moments that take our breath away. Vicky Corona. Thanks very much, everyone. We'll see you tonight at the stargazing.